I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up.
It took a president to get it done. That dream became a reality because we had a president who said, we're going to do it, and actually got it accomplished.
You voted against the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Would you do so today?
I would have to vote against it.
In 1964, during the presidential election of that year, I was a Goldwater girl. I mean, really, we used to wear, little banners which said Goldwater girl.
Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
When I left law school, my first job was with the Children's Defense Fund.
Well, Hillary Clinton's an old friend, but they're not friends in politics. We profoundly disagreed with the forms of the welfare reform bill.
By the time Bill and I left the White House, welfare rolls had dropped 60%.
Many years after that, when many people are pronouncing welfare reform a great success, we've got growing child poverty. The poor are suffering.
My first job was with the Children's Defense Fund.
Then they'd have to talk about the Clintons' past. The same Confederate flag Bree Newsom took down from above the South Carolina State House represents the exact same slave-owning and traitorous Confederacy for which Bill Clinton signed a resolution stating that the highest star on the Arkansas flag represented. To this day, they still have an official Confederate Flag Day. And not only did Bill and Hillary never say anything about this, but for 12 years, they celebrated the Confederacy too. I wouldn't want to talk about my past either if I were them.
We just had the tape. You just said that I complimented the Republican ideas. That is not true. What I said is that Ronald Reagan was a transformative political figure because he was able to get Democrats to vote against their economic interests to form a majority to push through their agenda, an agenda that I objected to because while I was working on those streets, watching those folks see their jobs shipped overseas, you were a corporate lawyer sitting on the board of Walmart.
The persistent scourge of child labor.
I'm always proud of Walmart and what we do.
Clinton also took a role in supporting a Buy America program.
One of the reasons we want to buy America is because we love America.
Walmart continued to get most of its products from overseas during its Buy America program, including from this factory in Bangladesh that used 11 and 12-year-old girls.
The persistent scourge of child labor.
When he was in trouble in the polls over Gennifer Flowers, he went back to Arkansas, of which he was still governor, and supervised the execution of a mentally disabled, in fact, a lobotomized black defendant called Ricky Ray Rector. He didn't know he'd been sentenced to death. He didn't understand when they came to give him his last meal what was happening. Any other week would have received clemency from the governor because there was no one in the prison thought he should be executed. The prison chaplain resigned on the issue. It was like killing a child.
New Hampshire tonight has made Bill Clinton the comeback kid.
Almost 25% of the world's total prison population. The numbers today are much higher than they were 30, 40 years ago. This bill would have put more police on the street, would have locked up violent offenders so they never could get out again, would have given more prison construction money.
And soon, Democrats began competing with Republicans to prove they could be even tougher on them.
And so it was President Bill Clinton who escalated the drug war far beyond what his Republican predecessors even dreamed possible. And it was President Clinton that championed laws denying federal financial aid to drug offenders for college. It was President Clinton who championed laws banning people with criminal convictions from access to public housing so that people wouldn't have housing upon release from prison. It was the Clinton administration that championed laws denying even food stamps under federal law to people who were once caught with drugs. To a large extent, the basic architecture of this new caste system was championed by a Democratic administration desperate to win back the so-called white swing voters, the folks who had defected from the Democratic Party in the wake of the civil rights movement.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. 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 Bring them to heel.
The man who started my success, the President of the United States, Bill Clinton.
The woman who was standing beside Bill Clinton when he signed the Welfare Act admitted before she died that it was the wrong move, that working didn't help her. She worked at a job where she made a little bit of money, and even if after she made a little bit of money, she still couldn't afford her medicine. Clinton used her, just like he used black people, just like Hillary Clinton is using black people now. I'm kind of tired of being used.
By the time Bill and I left the White House, welfare rolls had dropped 60%.
I'm sorry to say what I thought would happen has happened. This was a blunderbuss. This was just an axe, a hatchet. 6 million, 2% of our population have no income except those food stamps. The food stamps is the sole thing that stands between them and being totally without any income.
I want to talk about this story that CNN.com put out dealing with the recession worsens racial wealth gap. Whites have a net worth about 20 times that of blacks and about 18 times that of Hispanics. Who's to blame for this?
She was very close to Robert Rubin, to Lawrence Summers, to the people in the Clinton administration who gave us the radical deregulation of Wall Street. So they're the ones that opened the door to the Wall Street thieves that brought on the Great Recession.
Hillary Clinton has not been a friend to black people. We're not just talking about mass incarceration. This duo has gutted and devastated the black community. You can draw a line from the evaporation of black wealth in the black community back to the deregulation of the Clinton years. I would be hard pressed to find in recent memory another president who's been quite as damaging.
New York has spent a considerable amount of money and effort devising very good tests.
I will end the unfunded mandate known as No Child Left Behind. I do not believe that our children are little test takers. And I do not believe that our teachers should be nothing but test givers.
When you narrow the curriculum and you focus just on those tests, you really demoralize teachers.
Perhaps the most important wreckage to take a look at is really the wreckage of the Democratic Party.
In this campaign, the nation has had to forgive you early and often. We have forgiven you your misspeaking about Martin Luther King's relative importance to the civil rights movement.
New York City, Hillary State, the best nominee that's possible, and the Democrats are throwing the election away. For what? An inadequate black male who would not have been running had it not been a white woman that was running for president.
We have forgiven you the 3 a.m. phone call commercial.
It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. But there's a phone in the White House and it's ringing. Something's happening in the world. Your vote will decide who answers that call. Whether it's someone who already knows the world's leaders, knows the military, someone tested and ready to lead in a dangerous world. It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. Who do you want answering the phone?
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
We have forgiven you President Clinton's disparaging comparison of the Obama candidacy to Jesse Jackson's.
Jesse Jackson won South Carolina twice, in '84 and '88.
I think people want change. I think they want to get beyond some of the racial politics that has been so dominant in the past.
We have forgiven you for your boasting of your support among working, hardworking Americans, white Americans.
Senator Obama's support among working, hardworking Americans, white Americans, is weakening again.
We have even forgiven you repeatedly praising Senator McCain at Senator Obama's expense and at your own expense and at the Democratic ticket's expense.
I have a lifetime of experience that I will bring to the White House. I know Senator McCain has a lifetime of experience that he will bring to the White House.
And Senator Obama has a speech he gave in 2002.
He's a fine man. He is a very fine man.
We need a nominee who can pass the commander-in-chief test. Senator McCain will bring a lifetime of experience, and Senator Obama will bring a speech that he gave in 2002.
Hillary Clinton has been very supportive of John McCain. They've been up there in that treehouse that says no Barack Obama gets up here.
We have forgiven you exploiting Jeremiah Wright in front of the editorial board of the lunatic fringe Pittsburgh Tribune Review. We have forgiven you exploiting William Ayers in front of the debate on ABC. We have forgiven you the photos of Osama bin Laden in an anti-Obama ad.
You know, my husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June, right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June.
This nation's deepest shame, its most enduring horror, is political assassination. A person who can let hang in midair the prospect that she might just be sticking around in part just in case the other guy gets shot has no business being the President of the United States.
We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June.
Today is the 12th of January 2016, 6 years after the earthquake. And for us, it was important to be in front of the Clinton Foundation because Bill Clinton, as head of the interim Haiti Recovery Commission, was responsible for the $6 billion. He had unlimited control of this money. 6 years after the earthquake, Haiti is in worse condition than it was in 2010. Only Bill Clinton can tell the world what happened with this money.
I know we can make college affordable and get student debt off the backs of young people.
I don't think she should be getting paid that much, honestly. You're already a wealthy person. Why do you need more?
Higher education shouldn't be a privilege for those able to afford it. It should be an opportunity widely available for anyone with the talent, determination, and ambition to learn.
I do not favor abolishing it, however, because I think there are certain egregious cases that still deserve the consideration of the death penalty. All lives matter. We cannot keep imprisoning more people than anybody else in the world.
Does no one else see the hypocrisy? Forget about super predators in the 1994 crime bill. When Hillary Clinton said this, she was actively using lobbyists from two major private prison companies to raise campaign cash. And she only stopped taking money from associates of the GEO Group and Corrections Corporations of America after Black Lives Matter and other activists confronted her. But even now, she has campaign staffers that lobby directly for GEO Group on her payroll.
Do you still have the support of Hillary Clinton?
I still support her, and that question of whether I continue to have her support is up to her, but I feel pretty confident I do.
You cannot call yourself an ally if you are going to stand behind a mayor of a city who actively participated in the suppression of a dash cam video showing an execution by a Chicago police officer of a young black man.
Hillary Clinton, she's come out and said that she supports the mayor, she backs the mayor. I don't understand, looking at the evidence that we now know is public, how any person, particularly a presidential candidate, could stand behind someone like Rahm Emanuel.
Now here we are, 2016. To those of you who have not yet made up your minds, or maybe even some of you who have made up your minds, to maybe consider and reconsider what it is that Bernie Sanders offers. He offers us a chance to declare unequivocally that there is an America, that there is a group of citizens who have a deep caring for where our nation goes and what it does in the process of going.